Alright, here we are, Game 3 between SG Esports and Digital Chaos South America. Get right on into this draft. Dazzle Earthshaker picked up by SG Esports. Spiritbreaker Ancient Apparition picked up by DC.SA. The bands of Necro, Nightstalker, Huskar from SG, Venomancer, and Lich. Now Puck for DC.SA, and they have that Spiritbreaker again, which is where they kind of have shined in this qualifier.
Yep, definitely seems like DC.SA really value that Spiritbreaker for that easy initiation and just a strong tanky roaming for support. But SG Esports with a little bit of a different opener this time. They opened with Dazzle Earthshaker. Both of these heroes really strong. Dazzle, a great lane support, position 5, and Earthshaker, you know, one of the best disablers in the game. You have 3 AoE stuns, instant AoE initiation in the form of Echo Slam, so pretty strong opener from SG Esports. And same with DC South America. They open with Spiritbreaker, Ancient Apparition, and you know, AA is one of these heroes that you see once in a while, and I think he got really valued during and after TI just because his skill set is so strong, especially his ultimate. Now we are going into the second phase of picks for SG Esports here. They still need potentially 3 cores, but at least 2 cores. And so they have a lot of options here. Since they already have a little bit of disable from the Earthshaker, they are a bit flexible coming into the second phase of the draft.
So Spiritbreaker, Ancient Apparition, obviously we've seen heavy aggression from Spiritbreaker last time he was picked up by DC.SA. How does that work well with Ancient Apparition? Are they going to be using the charge and the chilling touch to really work on these heroes that they're up against with the charge?
You know, almost certainly we'll see some early game aggression from these 2 heroes, but I think the greatest combination about these 2 heroes is that it's almost global, right? You have the charge followed up by the AA ult, followed by the Spiritbreaker ulti, and it's pretty much almost a guaranteed kill on most heroes in this game. And we see an Enigma pick from SG Esports, and we used to see a lot of Enigma prior to TI, but I think the pace of the game has changed a lot. Enigma usually ran as an offlaner who denies the range creep, and whenever the lane conditions are right, the Enigma will show up in lane, but otherwise the Enigma can always fall back to the jungle. The problem with that is if the enemy team manages their lane well, the Enigma will get less, but also Enigma takes a long time to get set up, and when you're against the lineup like DC's that has these really fast-paced heroes right now, Spiritbreaker, Queen of Pain, in a way AA is also quite fast-paced, Enigma can really suffer in that kind of game. So whenever you do have a lineup with Enigma, you have to be careful of when you take those fights and when you use that black hole, because if you ever use it, that's a couple minutes where the enemy team has some breathing room.
Yeah, it seems like SG Esports, they've got Earthshaker with the Echo Slam and obviously Enigma with that black hole. It just seems like they're very cooldown dependent right now.
Certainly, but their cooldowns or their ultimates or their lockdown in general is very long and almost guaranteed to kill a hero. So what SG need now is a little bit of damage or a little bit of utility to supplement that team fighting ability.
So for DC.SA, what kind of heroes would be able to take advantage of that time where these cooldowns are on for SG Esports?
And Queen of Pain is one of those heroes because she can actually do a little bit of split pushing on her own if she gets a Maelstrom or maybe a Veil to help blast out some range creeps. But something that DC.SA should really consider here, actually seeing these 4 picks from SG, is perhaps even a Silencer to completely nullify the teamfight potential from SG. I mean, the thing about SG is you have this fast-paced hero like Ember, and Ember is a hero that can do a lot of damage during these ultimates from SG, but I think SG are kind of reliant on having a good early game. At least Ember Spirit as a hero is reliant on snowballing, or not really snowballing, but at least surviving the early game. So whenever you have a hero like Silencer, it makes it a lot harder for SG to fight in the first 15 minutes, at least until Enigma picks up some Greaves or BKB or Lotus Orb. So They choose the Void instead, which is a pretty good pick as well. It synergizes extremely well with Ancient Apparition and Queen of Pain, and actually allows them to take the initiative in these fights, because one way to stop a lineup that has a lot of big teamfight potential is just to have your own big teamfight potential and go on them first, right? Like burst down the Enigma, burst down the Earthshaker before they get to cast any spells, and Void's one of the best heroes for that, just because Chronosphere is so good. It's relatively easy to use and get off, and Void himself as a hero can scale to the point where he can kill heroes on his own.
So, now you were talking about Silencer coming out for DC.SA. If he were to get picked up, would he have to go in the safe lane here and throw Void in the off lane for him to work?
I believe Void is very strong as a safe laner, so that is always an option, especially when you have a hero like AA that can dish out so much damage with the Void and right clicks. So wouldn't be surprised if DC.SA prioritizes Void as a safe laner and go for a different off laner. They don't have to do a Silencer lineup anymore. In fact, Silencer could be in a way detrimental to their lineup, because it makes their lineup a little squishy, and DC themselves don't want to be cooldown dependent, because if they're cooldown dependent and SG has, like, I guess, bigger team fight, then DC's also kind of hosed if they get stuck in a position where they don't have their spells.
So, let's say Quap mid, Void safe lane. It looks like they need an off laner. Could we see
maybe a Batrider, or not a Legion, but I think Batrider DC seem to have done really well with, or can't think of anything from the top of my head, but
Clockwork
Darkseer is banned out. Yeah, Clockwork is not too good of an offlaner this patch. It doesn't feel like it, at least. He doesn't thrive in certain lanes, and they haven't seen SG's potential safe laner yet.
Could they go with something like a Tide Hunter, or does that make them just too cooldown dependent?
Tide Hunter feels like a really slow-paced hero, and I think DC needs something that helped the Spirit Breaker, Queen of Pain, AA in the early game, or in the early mid-game. That is a hero that's good in the early and mid-game, and that does mean that the Void's going to be offlane, which is also quite good. Void is actually okay against Dazzle as well, since Dazzle can't really zone him out or stop the Void from casting Time Lock. So SG, if they want to win the lane against Void, they're going to need a hero perhaps like Ursa or something else that I haven't thought of. But they actually only have 2 seconds to pick, so here comes their pick. That's their selection. That's a hero that's quite good at laning against melee heroes in general, so pretty cool pickup. Actually, I'm sure the Monkey King ulti synergizes really well with Enigma, and it also gives SG an additional form of lockdown to follow up.
So, Dazzle, Earthshaker, Enigma, Ember Spirit, Monkey King up against Spirit Breaker, Ancient Apparition, Queen of Pain, Void, and Weaver. It's 1-1. Winner of this goes on to the finals tomorrow. And what are you thinking in terms of these drafts? Who do you think looks better so far, just draft-wise?
You know, I think that Monkey King gave SG a little bit of that early game potential, so I think in theory the Monkey King should do well against the Void in lane, and the Enigma should be able to get what he needs out of the lane, especially if he decides to jungle. But I can see DC's lineup being a lot easier to execute, because you really just need that big chrono, and any hero that gets caught in the chrono is dead this game, just because you get followed up with Queen of Pain, Weaver, and AA, and Spirit Breaker is some of the easiest teamfight initiation in the game. Literally 3 buttons, or 2 buttons. So I think DC probably have an easier time, but SG definitely have a larger potential to dominate these teamfights, especially with the amount of AoE that they have.
Is it possible they put the Weaver in the off lane and just throw Void safe lane still?
It is possible, especially because they're leaning against a potential safe lane Monkey King, right? I don't think Weaver does well against Monkey King, but certainly better than the Void, especially because the Weaver can just completely escape. The problem with Weaver against Monkey King is you still get completely zoned out. Like, if you eat one melee hit, you're going to want to get away, and then you can't really come back for 12 seconds until Shukuchi's back up, especially before you hit level 3. So it's hard to say how the laning scenario will go. The teams are probably, or sorry, DC will probably have to decide that during this pause,
which is pretty traditional. Chaos.SA.
Classic pause, initiated by the Radiant team, which is SG.
For the first time in this series, too. They were dire both times before this.
Yep. Certainly a bit of a change up. And bit of downtime. Earthshaker is starting with boots, so he'll be roaming around. Doesn't pick up any regen at all, actually, which is a little interesting, I guess. He's just going to be standing in the back throwing out fishers, so... Void does opt for the... It's actually hard for me to discern whether or not the Void is going to be offlane, because their items are pretty standard, like stack regen. Void often gets his Poor Man Shield, but I'm pretty sure the Void's going to go offlane just because the Poor Man Shield is a lot more useful against the Monkey King. And,
does look like he is going off lane. Weaver sets up in the safe lane. And let's take a look as Enigma is making his way over, so
Dazzle's got a pretty empty inventory. Enigma does look like he's intending to jungle. I think he's got that Blightstone first. Usually if an Enigma wants to dedicate himself to actually staying in the offlane, they'll get boots first. This could be the correct decision because Weaver is one of those heroes. Weaver and AA together actually can close the gap on the Enigma and deal a ton of damage to him. I actually forgot about this combo, that Weaver with Chilling Touch is actually quite strong, especially once you get that point in Geminate attack.
So if you're throwing Enigma in the jungle, does that mean Earthshaker, I mean, it doesn't look like he's set for it, would be in the offlane, just trying to get those levels?
I think no one's really safe in this offlane. It really depends on the lane position, and AA can always control that by pulling. But you might have some action on the top bounty rune.
Take a look over at the Ember Spirit, getting body blocked by this Spirit Breaker so well, actually. And there it is. Gonna be First Blood going the way of the Ancient Apparition with that Chilling Touch on him and the Weaver.
Yeah. So generally the game plan for offlane Enigma is you deny the range creep, and then if the creeps somehow get into a nice position like near your tier 1, you can get the experience and CS there. But otherwise the Enigma is quite content just jungling because his jungle speed's decent.
They've got the ward there on the dire side, so a charge could come his way if he gets low enough. So he's got to be very careful.
Hey, he's gonna poke at him as well. This First Blood was a little bit of a double whammy mid, but
they kill off the Earthshaker. They're looking to kill off the Spirit Breaker, but I don't even know if they'll have enough for that. The Ember still has to watch out. And that'll push Quap close to level 2. Spirit Breaker, he's also close to level 2. I'm not too sure, with the ward there at least, if Enigma is comfortable trying to jungle, so he has moved back in the offlane.
Yep. I mean, he's fine as long as the AA is not in the same position as the Weaver. I mean, he's willing to trade a couple hits with the Weaver, especially with the Eidolons. And this First Blood was exceptionally bad for this Ember Spirit because he also missed the block on the mid wave. So Queen of Pain had that advantage in the first wave, and they somehow converted that into a second kill on the Earthshaker, actually. So Queen of Pain doing really well so far in the first couple of waves. You know, she does really well in the laning phase, but then where Ember Spirit really shines is that period of time where he's got the level 4 Flame Guard and the ultimate. So we'll see if he somehow catches up in the mid game.
Enigma coming back towards the jungle now, level 2. So is the Spirit Breaker, has Bash available. The Chilling Touch is out on them. Gets the initial charge looking for that Bash, but just those 2 hits alone, it's so hard. If they could get 1 Bash, they'd have the kill. Unfortunately, they don't get it. It is just that low percentage. So.
Yep. Ember taking a ton of damage in this mid lane.
They actually continue to go over mid with the charge. Fissure's not going to stop the charge from hitting, but Spirit Breaker in a bad spot under this tower. They're going to try and chase him all the way out. They've got the Quap nearby, but not enough mana for a Shadow Strike at all. So just going to blink away, continue to be safe. And everything should be okay for the two of them.
This bottom lane going quite well for the Monkey King. Dazzle and Monkey King level 2 and 3, whereas Faceless Void is level 2. So this Dazzle's been doing a really good job of managing this lane through the pulls, I think, and zoning out this Void. So Void's gonna have a slow level 6 this game. So will the Enigma as well, though.
If they're trying to be aggressive and really work with this Ancient Apparition ult, do we see them possibly go for Ags on this Void at some point?
Perhaps. Weaver's taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah, actually trying to run away from both the Earthshaker and the Enigma. Will not kill off this creep.
Interesting.
As the Eidolons will eat it up, and now he's just continuing to run away from this Earthshaker. He'll stop the clarity on the Earthshaker. Everything will be alright for now, and as I say that, he Shikuchi's away as Earthshaker just continues to get chased away.
Yep. What was that question you were asking?
Void, if he's going to end up going for the Ags. Don't want to be holding on to that high cooldown time and really looking to work with that Ice Blast.
Yeah, definitely a potential. We'll have to see how the late game goes. It really depends on who has the farm and what the priority really is.
Coming in definitely with the charge, not going to be nearly close enough.
Yeah, Chrono is their best option to kill the Ember Spirit this game, especially when you have when your only other form of initiation is Spirit Breaker, which isn't the most reliable on the Ember Spirit. The Ember Spirit has the potential to dodge it, so we'll have to see how the game pans out. For now, though, really the only advantage that DC have is through those 2 kills in the mid lane for that 1k or sub 1k net worth advantage, and there's actually a little bit of action happening mid.
I'm going to take a look at the Ember Spirit. Cold Feet is going to be there, as well as the Chilling Touch on a couple of these heroes. They use the Shallow Grave already. And we'll be able to get the Ember out. Poison Touch is going to be thrown on this Ancient Apparition. Should be fine. And just backs all the way off as 3 heroes from both sides sitting mid.
Yep, these Fishers have been so good at preventing these kills from happening, so really good movements from the Earthshaker so far. Those clarities are really paying off. A bit of a rotation happening mid. I think they denied or removed the ward on the cliff there.
Trying to take out that sentry is the Dire, but Fissure comes in again from this Earthshaker.
Yep, I think he's going to lose vision of that sentry, so neither of those sentries have vision of each other right now.
No, he used the courier just to grab him.
Now that the Dazzle's not in the lane, this Void has probably like 2 free waves of EXP here, so his level 6 will be back on schedule.
So Void's still level 4. You've got 3 heroes up here top to try and go in on this Enigma. The charge follows it up. First hit bash, and that should be a dead Enigma. Getting that first hit bash. Meanwhile, the Enigma gets the kill with his Eidolons on the Ancient Apparition.
Not a bad trade-off. Too bad he didn't get EXP for that, but at least he didn't completely lose out there.
Take a look. Gold about even, XP a little bit more in favor of DC.SA, and now Spirit Breaker is going to be in a bit of trouble. He's got Dazzle as well as the Enigma going after him, and a nicely placed Fissure again by this Earthshaker. So Spirit Breaker, not really that nuisance he was earlier in the first game, but he's still getting to run, has that Fairy Fire to keep him alive. They don't have enough for the Fissure, and he's still able to just run himself out. 30 mana still needed to get that charge away.
It's a TP.
Really making just so much space. So he finally has that TP and will get out. So makes so much space for his team.
Yep. There's a charge coming out on this Monkey King. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens off of this. The Queen of Pain's also in position to rotate in. So They have to be careful not to let this Monkey King jump away before the charge hits, because if the Monkey King reacts fast enough... Oh.
They actually get the tree, so it's going to be looking like a kill. He is level 6. They use the Sonic Wave to get themselves the kill, 4-1 in favor of DC.SA. Nice easy kill there for him.
Yep, easy kill for him, and I think they're going to get a little bit of tower damage here. That should be good. And, they have the AA sitting mid to hit level 6, which is a cool move from the Queen of Pain to leave that lane.
Look over down bottom, the rotation from the Monkey King with the Primal Spring onto 2 of these heroes, maybe trying to find something with the Dazzle. Poison Touch comes out. Time Walk up in 3. No Chronosphere just yet. And that might be what they're waiting for, despite not having the Sonic Wave.
This AA has to be a little bit careful here. I think the Ember's going to go for a kill if he sees one. Instead, he goes away and goes for the jungle instead. Spirit Breaker's sapping a little bit of this EXP, though.
So you take a look. He's going to use that Shrine. Coming over is the Spirit Breaker. Just going to spot out this Ember Spirit for now, who is having an alright time over mid. Nothing really too terrible except for that early first blood.
Yep. This Enigma's a bit of a nuisance for this Weaver, taking away a little bit of EXP, and this Earthshaker's getting gone on.
Yeah, they're going to take a look at the Earthshaker as well as the Ember. They've got Flame Guard just trying to get this kill. Denied by the Ember. A very nice move. And now they're going to try and TP out with this Ember Spirit. And Charge not going to be there in time. They'll be able to escape.
Oh. AA quite close to level 6. Spirit Breaker level 4. I think there's going to be a lot of kill potential happening from DC in the next couple of minutes, and as I say that, there's a charge on top.
Yeah, so they're going after this Enigma again. The charge is going to come not all the way through over by the top tier 1. As
it's a little bit risky with that black hole available. But,
especially under the tier 1.
Yep. Now this is really the point in the game where Ember Spirit is a lot stronger than Queen of Pain, especially since Queen of Pain can't instantly take off that Flame Guard, so... For now, feels like they're just both teams are just content farming until they see an opening.
Ancient Apparition about to be level 6. You've got the Faceless Void level 7, so Chronosphere available. Sonic Wave is up. They might wait for this Ancient Apparition to hit 6 and go over towards the Monkey King bottom. Ancient Apparition not showing himself. Level 6 just yet. Really inching towards it, and you can see he's staying in the trees to make sure he's not spotted out.
Yep. And taking the safe or the opponent's off lane tier 1 is always something you keep in mind when you're playing Weaver, since this hero is he's a fast-paced hero, but he wants to have as much map control or open up as much of the map as possible early, since he doesn't farm super fast. Like he wants to be able to sit in a lane somewhere safely and hit lane creeps. So the more towers you take, the better on this hero.
Ice Blast coming top. Let's see, I think it's going all the way up towards this Enigma. Not. Ooh, yeah, actually does hit during the soaring cast, so Enigma has to be a bit careful down to half health like that.
Yeah. DC going for the tower advantage here. They're going to get the bottom tier 1 as well.
So they take a tier 1 bottom. They've got that tier 1 top. Coming over is going to be SG Esports to try and get a tower of their own, but now with all these rotations coming out, they've got to really try to retreat. Monkey King does spot out both the Void and the Weaver. The charge coming in through onto the Dazzle. Let's see how deep they go in as the Weaver starts to knock around the Enigma. They find themselves a Dazzle. Should be an easy kill. You've got 4 heroes here to really slap them. And they do get the kill, now up 5-1. Ice Blast now coming over mid. And they're going to TP over the Spirit Breaker. I think they really want to make something happen.
Meanwhile, top Monkey King hits the top tier 1 tower to secure the kill, and Spirit Breaker's taking a bit of damage in the mid lane.
Just continuing to follow this Ember Spirit. You take a look over mid, Void just behind him. Ember Spirit has to move away. Doesn't really want to give up his life this early. He needs to come back after that early game. Not disaster, but not as well as he'd like it to have gone.
Yep. I mean, he's in a good position though, sitting at level 8. And I think all of DC's ultimates are up, so they're probably looking for as many kills as possible. They start with a Dazzle up top.
Ice Blast is going to come in on the Enigma. That pushes him back. And Dazzle is going to end up shattering to that Ice Blast. You take a look at the Earthshaker. He's going to meet a little bit of trouble as he's trying to chase down a couple of these heroes. The Shikuchi on forward. They've got the Ember Spirit here as well. The Shadow Strike should take care of the Earthshaker. They look for the kill onto this Ember. Now the Void gets the Chrono off. He's going to get very low, but he's not going to get out just yet. The Black Hole on 2 with the Wukong's command hitting away at 2 of these heroes. Doesn't get anybody just yet. And with the Void coming over with the Time Walk, they'll get one. He loses his life to the tower. So it's a 2-for-1 trade thus far, and now Spirit Breaker needs to try and get himself out, but it doesn't look like he's going to, with the Primal Spring landing on him and the last hit coming in. They've got the Weaver. Now they'll clean up the Quap. 4 go down on the side of DC.SA. SG Esports, they make them pay for their aggression.
Yeah. I think there was a little bit of an error there from Queen of Pain when she walked into the Chrono. Definitely could have finished the Ember Spirit before the Chrono ended, but unfortunately she stepped into the Chrono. And I think the big part of that team fight was that the Dazzle managed to get this Observer downward before, get this Observer down before dying, because that vision provided so much information and so much help for SG Esports to win that fight.
8-6, a small lead for SG Esports with their rocky start. They now have the Monkey King at top of the net worth, something we didn't see last game for DC.SA.
Yep. I mean, this hero doesn't farm super quickly, so he wants to get as much done in the early game to build a good start.
Cold Feet comes out on the Ember. He's going to walk it off, and now just trying to trade shots with this Weaver. And Quap and Ember really quite close to each other. Now going to be spotted out finally. Blinks away to the low ground into the river with 3 of her teammates.
Oh. And Chronosphere's up in 33 seconds, so they might decide to, or DC might decide to make a move at that point, especially since all of their other ultimates will be up at the same time. Oh, minus the Queen of Pain ulti, but they'll be in a position to get it back up. In fact, they started a charge on the Monkey King. The Queen of Pain's also making her way there. It's really not a lot of ward vision as far as I know from SG in their own jungle, so DC are pretty much uncontested taking this path into tier 1.
Got the Weave coming out. There's the Sleight of Fist searing chains. Ember doing a lot of damage to this Weaver, forced to use that time lapse, still trying to run away with that Weave on him. Got a couple of heroes here. The Maleficus hits the Spirit Breaker, so he won't be able to charge just yet. They've got the Wukong's command coming out on a couple of these heroes with the Chronosphere hitting on 2. And now they look for the Ice Blast. Echo Slam comes out. That'll kill off the Void. They'll look to get one more in the Quap, just blinking away. And it ends up being a 1-for-0. And I may have spoken too soon. Just gets away with that charge as the Spirit Breaker.
A little bit of a weird fight for DC there, and SG managed to get away with a kill. I think the Void got the Chrono off, but it wasn't before the Wukong's command, so he was just eating hits from the Monkey King ult and then got finished with an Echo Slam. So I think the Wukong command and the Chronosphere really zoned out his own team as well.
So top Ember and the Weaver. Again, Sleight of Fist, Searing Chains. This just does so much damage to the Weaver.
Yep. Enigma's having quite a good game. He's sitting on a, well, relatively good game. He has a Midas as well, so this Enigma will be very well off scaling into the late game. Weaver has a huge risk of getting bursted this game between Monkey King and Earthshaker, so he's got to be really careful of his positioning, especially after the Earthshaker picks up his blink. Now the Earthshaker's about 1k gold away.
So DC.SA, it just seems like the last couple of fights have not really gone their way. Hopefully, you know, you had pointed it out just a moment ago about how the Wukong's command combined with that Chronosphere has just been kind of zoning out DC.SA. Do they just start to figure that out and learn how to play around it?
Well, I think the Chronos are mid.
Take a look over mid, Boundless Strike hits, and now he's got that Jingyu Mastery. One more shot is not going to be enough yet, but melee range, of course, is that long, and Monkey King will get a killing spree, killing off that Quap.
I mean, Chronosphere is DC's biggest teamfight spell, and their only other form of initiation is a charge, so they really have to be careful of where they place that Chronosphere, especially if it's in an area like mid where the Chronosphere pretty much covered the ramp, so none of DC's heroes could follow up. And I think the Chronosphere has to be on a priority target, like the Enigma, Ember Spirit, and Monkey King. But that's 3 targets and only 1 spell to take them out. So I think SG are a lot more comfortable in these team fights because of that. There's more mistakes for DC to make in these team fights than SG, especially since SG Esports is 2k gold ahead.
Yeah, up 2k gold, tied in kills. Monkey King sitting top of the net worth. Again, unlike the last game for DC.SA, where we saw Monkey King struggle to really do anything after having an abysmal early game. But now he's there, top of the net worth, followed up by this Ember Spirit who's looking for the Yules next. And you can see the difference in the game.
Yep. Really, DC's plan is to just try to get as much out of the map as possible while looking for pickoffs. I think Queen of Pain is like strong at 2 points in the game. She's strong in the early game in the laning phase, and then she's strong as she gets a couple of items like the Orchid, the BKB, the Shivas, possibly Bloodthorn, and until then, I think the Ember Spirit definitely will outperform Queen of Pain in the mid game, especially now that the
Ulti comes out from the Spirit Breaker up top. He almost dies as he's just trying to make space for his team, which they've smoked up. So they're trying to find someone on the side of SG Esports. Not going to find anything yet. These creeps are allowed to push in. There's the Enigma finally pushing them back, so they know he's there. They got to find someone to go after with this smoke. Instead, it looks as though they might elect to go for Roche, but they just throw the Swarm in there and back off. Actually, top, Monkey King is going to be in trouble. Ice Blast comes out, not before he gets killed on the Spirit Breaker. He'll finally go down to the Void, but 2v1, and the Monkey King still taking somebody with him.
Well, I guess the bashes didn't save him there, but so it's still a really good trade for DC since the Monkey King was top net worth. And I'll put the Void a little bit more ahead. I think ideally Queen of Pain would be split pushing, but the Weaver's doing a lot of that for her, and I think, as we saw, like when the Queen of Pain died to the Monkey King mid, that she does have to be a little bit careful of her positioning, especially if she's pushing out waves by her own. So not the most ideal Queen of Pain game.
So 9-9, F10K bettors are on the edge of their seats. And looks as though DC.SA, they're just going to try and continue to push. And you've got the Earthshaker who's now picked up that blink. So you've got that Black Hole Echo Slam opportunity now. I'd like to see if SG Esports can pull it off in full.
In fact, SG, they smoke up. The only one that's not smoked is the Earthshaker. So the Earthshaker is going to try to take a different path, or at least not give away the smoke. And might actually... Interesting sequence of events there.
Queen of Pain does get out. They pick up the Diffusal on the Weaver. Still nearby is going to be SG Esports. Gotta be very careful. There is quite a bit of mobility on the side of SG Esports.
Yep. The biggest thing for SG Esports is it's a lot safer for SG to keep these lanes pushed out just because they have this Ember Spirit. I mean, Ember Spirit's one of the best heroes for pushing out lanes just because you can use that Remnant as an instant escape. So
Void was looking like he was going to Chronosphere this Ember, but thinks better of it as the Side SG Esports is coming around the back of him. They don't end up finding the Void as he does retreat with the Spirit Breaker. But again, this is another smoke from both sides, really, that just kind of doesn't find anything for them.
I think the ideal team fight for DC, now that I think about it, is where the Queen of Pain and the Weaver, they're on the outskirts of the fight, taking out supports or taking out targets without getting caught together in a black hole or echo slam. So in order to do that, I think they need to get a little bit more farmed. And the Queen of Pain has an Orchid, but she still needs the BKB to guarantee her survival. I believe Weaver should also consider a BKB at some point in this game as well.
So they're going to charge over bottom. They're looking to
get
this
the
kill. They've got the Orchid, but now he's going to Yules himself. Charge comes in, sleight of fist, and he is gone.
Got a bit of a misplay there. I don't think she should have went in. I think they should have just hoped that the charge landed, or I think a better option would have been to try to ulti the Ember from the fog, but instead they'll go for the Earthshaker.
But there's the weave. Ice Blast is going to come through. Spirit Breaker in a little bit of trouble as there's the Sleight of Fist Searing Chains. Spirit Breaker looking like he's getting low. Might fall. He does. Meanwhile, the Chronosphere hits on 2 up top. So does the Sonic Wave, but they haven't gotten anything out of it. Out of the Chronosphere, there's going to be the Echo Slam from the Earthshaker. They finally kill off this Dazzle. They look for the Monkey King. They'll drop him, and now the Black Hole is there to grab this Faceless Void, but killing off the Enigma is the Weaver. He's just doing so much damage with that Chilling Touch. They'll grab a 4th. They're looking for a 5th. Ember Spirit just gets away. Finally able to TP out. He has that double damage as well. So the Weaver just throwing so hard. Throwing hits so hard.
DC caught SG in a really weird spot. There's a really narrow pathway where SG really can position themselves where they wanted to. And
Chilling Touch, double damage. How hard can you hit?
Yep. Like Monkey King has 2k health, but I guess it wasn't enough, especially since he started the fight being AA blasted.
So with that win and actually a buyback from the Enigma, they're going to head over towards Roche and look for this Aegis.
We got the Aegis, which should help. Obviously, it helps DC a lot, but it helps it more so because now, if SG commit a big spell like Echo Slam or Black Hole to the Aegis target, you won't have it the next time the Aegis target respawns. So
they look for this Silence ulti trying to come through from the Spirit Breaker, but to no avail.
Yeah. I mean, at least they stopped the Ember from pushing out the lane, but that's also one of the strengths of Ember Spirit this game, is really realistically, the only way the Ember Spirit gets caught is if he gets Chronosphered, because Ember Spirit, looking up top.
Wukong's command onto the Void, he just time walks away. And avoids that balanced strike, so. Charge comes through, but Sleight of Fist. They won't hit the Ember just yet, looking for that Ice Blast. The Ember walks away once again, and now Void up top. They're looking for something. Fissure with the rest of the team, and again, time walks away. He's still not safe just yet as the rest of the team's coming over. There's 4 heroes here, but maybe he's trying to find a Chronosphere. He gets hit by that Malefice, being stun locked for now, with the Sleight of Fist coming over, and now the Weave. Maybe Void doesn't feel too confident in this fight, but he's got the rest of his team here, so he should feel all right. Going in with the Weaver, with the Spirit Breaker, and now Quap coming over the edge.
A little bit of a weird gank attempt on the Faceless Void. I don't think they properly chain stunned him. I think the Earthshaker had the potential to chain stun him, but was maybe a little bit late on the enchant totem, or was expecting the Boundless Strike from Monkey King, but Faceless Void gets away, and I think DC are going to have a tier 2 because of it.
And they look for their last outer tower. And it shouldn't really be contested.
Ember Spirit's working on a Radiance next, which should bump up his damage output by a lot, but I'm not sure if that's what he needs this game. He's certainly not tanky enough to survive hits from the Weaver. I mean, he'll always be able to get out in team fights, but...
Charge, actually, they find the Monkey King. They're not going to go in on it as he's already back towards that tier 3.
It feels like if Ember's going for this Radiance, he's looking to go like super late game, so we'll see how it pans out.
So Weaver coming over to the back of this Ember, just sitting in the secret shop area, and hasn't found anything just yet. They are looking for the Ice Blast onto this Earthshaker. Dead. So they line it up quite well.
Weaver stalls his Aegis, so they can still make something happen potentially, but I feel like this Aegis will expire before DC might actually get anything big. But they've been building up a steady lead over the last 5 minutes, so really don't need to rush anything at the moment. The Faceless Void is starting to finish his defusal, so with that massive defusal, it might actually give him kill potential on any of SG's heroes. So SG's got to be careful of their positioning.
So Ember just continuing to push up top as best he can. He really wants to push these creeps in, knowing he's near that tier 3 tower. But still, DC.SA, they're putting the pressure on here to SG Esports quite well, and they're still continuing to farm at a pretty nice pace.
Yep. This Void's really taking off ahead of the Queen of Pain as well, so...
Career ends up going down, look at that. Ice Blast combined with the Weaver to get the kill.
Queen of Pain's farm speed is suffering a little bit this game. It's sort of a good thing for her though, because she has teammates that are pushing out the lanes for her, and Queen of Pain's a lot faster at farming through lane creeps. Well, most heroes are a lot faster at farming through lane creeps, and the other thing is it's sort of a dangerous game for her to walk around.
Meanwhile, mid-Chronosphere onto the Ember, hitting very hard. Let's see if they can find something with it. They don't end up getting the kill. He gets out with that Remnant once again. And Chronosphere are going to be down for another 100 seconds.
And it's like 3 heroes in the bottom for SG, and they're trying to play it safe. Looks like Weaver's looking for him, but TP's coming out.
Either of them as they both TP out.
Yeah. Weaver did see the animation for the TP, so he knows that at least the Dazzle was around.
So they've got this Aegis. They are pushing bottom. Meanwhile, 2 of these heroes, the Ancient Apparition, building a lot of Atos. Void over here on the side. Jungle getting his BKB next. And let's see, they are charging. It's going to be a charge on the Earthshaker, so I don't think this Spirit Breaker wants to go all the way through. And he is just going to stop over mid.
2 big item pickups in the last recent while. So Ember's done his Radiance. He's working on a Lotus Orb now, and the other thing is Spirit Breaker's getting awfully close to the Shadow Blade. So the Ember Spirit actually doesn't have a Lincoln Sphere, which I think he needs at some point in this game. So Spirit Breaker, you can Shadow Blade during the charge, and pretty much guarantees that the Ember Spirit's going to get hit by the charge unless the Ember Spirit somehow Spider senses and dodges it. But does put him in a little bit of trouble, and actually seems to be a little...
Charge coming through, but Sleight of Fist is going to stop this Spirit Breaker. They've got the Orchid, they've got him Yulesed up, able to just Remnant away again. And this just seems to be the same story every time. Looks like they're going to get him, he uses Yules, and then Remnant away.
Yeah. But you have these 2 heroes split pushing from SG, the Ember and the DC, so they're still, or the Ember and the Monkey King, so SG are still getting a lot out of the map. It's just that DC is getting much more because they're farming 3 lanes and they're farming the jungle. And Enigma's not really in a position to show himself in lanes, especially since he's such a priority target for DC.
So Ember going to try to attempt to push top. Going to be cleaned up by both the Spirit Breaker and the Weaver. But he just continues to go up there and push it towards the tier 3, making it harder and harder for DC.SA to really make anything happen. And now he's got the rest of the team here.
Well, the odd thing is neither team really wants to fight without the Aegis, right? Because both teams have these big cooldown spells, Chronosphere and Black Hole, and if you have the Aegis, you can sort of mitigate that, because as soon as the big cooldown's used, you have a second life, so you can make some actions happen. So neither team wants to take a huge engagement without the Aegis, and that's why DC smoked up right now. They're looking for a kill to set up before Roshan spawns in the next minute.
And they might be able to find something on the Enigma if he's not too careful. They're not going to charge all the way through, but they are still just sitting over mid.
you know, at minimum, the smoke put them in a nice position to contest Roche because now they're sitting between the base and Roche, but looks like they're starting to give up that position and push out the lanes again.
Charge looking like it's going to come through onto the Ember Spirit. Crosses the creep wave. Sleight of Fist is actually going to miss. And now he's just sees, over top.
Sees Ember's new position, and Shadow Blade is on cooldown, so he won't be able to use that, but this...
Still looking to come over. They have Chronosphere available. The Fissure stops that for now with the Echo Slam. They're trying to throw a Remnant in there as well, but now the Chronosphere is going to hit this Ember Spirit. He's going to get quite low, hit by the Weaver as well. They'll drop this Ember, and that's what they've been looking for the last 10 minutes, it seems like. Just continuing to charge, chase, Yules, Remnant out. Finally, they get lucky enough to kill him off, and they get the kill.
I think we've only seen one black hole this game, and I think that's probably a mistake from SG. Should probably be looking for some solo pickoffs with this black hole, because it definitely feels like they're on the back foot this game, specifically because they're just getting slowly out-farmed over the last 20 minutes. And, as a result, you know, DC's starting to work on this. Roshan, they might actually catch the Monkey King here.
Charge comes all the way through, but Balance Strike stops him. They've got the rest of these heroes. Ult hits on the Earthshaker from the Spirit Breaker. There's the Orchid. They'll get themselves at least one, and they still continue to hit away at this Roche with just the Ancient Apparition and the Weaver.
And Queen of Pain starting to work on this Sheepstick, which will be exceptionally dangerous for the Ember Spirit, because this Ember Spirit hasn't gotten anything to really prevent him from getting locked down, especially with the Shadow Blade on Spirit Breaker. No Lincolns, no BKB, and so I imagine the split pushing from Ember is going to become more and more difficult as the game progresses.
Now they've got this Aegis, they have the cheese, especially on this Weaver who can time-lapse, then use the cheese if he's put in a bad spot. Be looking to see if DC.SA are going to be pushing here and look for high ground for the first time this game.
Well, it's still quite difficult for them to push high ground. If they push high ground, it has to be one hero hitting a tower, and then they have to sort of sit behind this hero, because if they clump up too much, they'll take a ton of damage from the ultimates coming out from SG.
So they have
Chronosphere realistically, SG are just stuck split pushing until this Aegis is over, or at least until DC mess up a high ground attempt. This Monkey King is starting to fall behind, and Monkey King's not a hero that farms super quickly or safely, so he's getting what he can, but this Weaver and Void are just slowly overtaking him.
Take a look at top of the net worth is the Weaver. Okay, before that, Scotty next, included with everything he's got right now. Just 20,000 net worth, and then next after him is this Void. Likes to go for the MKB, not the Ags just yet. Even if he is going to go for that, I have no clue just yet.
The Void does, or the MKB does help him through the Radiance and provides a little bit of extra damage, because I think really the goal for Void this game is to be able to solo kill someone in the Chrono without the help of his teammates, so MKB certainly helps him with that. And down at bottom,
Spirit Breaker sought out by the Earthshaker, and the Monkey King comes over is the Ember Spirit. So they get the kill, only using Wukong's command.
Slightly overkill, but at least it buys them a little bit of time. It's up to DC to decide whether or not they can push when the Spirit Breaker's back up, though, because looks like they're starting to position themselves at this top with the cheese on the Weaver and the Aegis on the Queen of Pain.
So they are going to continue to hit this top tier 3. Malphus going to hit onto this Weaver, but they've already chunked it down to 700 health, so a quick little 1-2 there, a bit of chip damage, and it's down half health without the Spirit Breaker just yet.
Oh. We do have a gem pickup on AA, and AA is one of those heroes that is really good with a gem, because you can use Ice Vortex to spot out any potential high ground wards.
So coming over with this invis is the Earthshaker. They're going to come out with the Void and the Weaver leading the way. Let's see if they can even find the Earthshaker. Maybe they set up with a Black Hole Echo Slam on these two heroes, but they're not even going to go for it as the two of them just continue to clean up that creep wave top.
Could be a kill coming up on the Ember. The Ember senses something's up, I guess, and teleports away, but SG doing a really good job of preventing DC from being in a position to high ground, going for that pick off on the Spirit Breaker, keeping the lanes pushed out, staying grouped up and making sure they're not getting picked off.
Team, you know, just looking, both teams are looking for positioning, and now with that Shadow Blade, actually,
Void might go in here.
Take a look over at the Void, finds the Dazzle, Shallowgrave in a nicely placed fissure, but the charge is going to come out. The Weave is there on two of these heroes. They still knock down the Dazzle. Ulti comes out from the Spirit Breaker onto the Earthshaker. They're going to look to get one more kill, and they will. And that'll be two without buyback for the side of SG Esports.
And really what that was that ward placed on the, well, I guess in the middle of the lane from DC that spotted out almost all of the heroes on SG. And, you know, as SG was dewarding it, they got caught out. But it's actually not too bad because both of the heroes are up within the next 30 seconds. And really no push is going to happen. But I mean, SG are just slowly losing this game. I'm pretty sure that DC will make a move after a couple of items, especially this BKB on the Void, which will really prevent the Void from getting disabled.
Ooh, actually, they go in onto the Weaver. Weaver in a bit of trouble. He finally gets that time lapse off, but the Ice Blast coming out from the Ancient Apparition, as well as the Rod of Atos to hit the Monkey King, and the Cult Fiend freezes over. BKB is going to be popped by the Quap. They're looking for at least one. They'll find it in the Monkey King, and now it looks as though the Spirit Breaker is just going to try and retreat for now. They've got the Remnants coming in back and forth from the Ember Spirit. He'll be in and out of that fight. Meanwhile, up top, Void is going to get that tier 3, looking towards getting himself a set of racks.
Yep. The
split push game from
good position just to chip the buildings. Earthshaker might actually go down here.
Earthshaker is gonna stay alive for the time being with the last bit of health from the Shallow Grave. They get the Black Hole out on 2. They finally kill off this Spirit Breaker. Now the time lapse comes out again. A Chronosphere, this time on 3. Sonic Wave follows it up. Echo Slam on the back end from this Earthshaker, but it's not gonna do enough. They've lost 4. They've lost 5. Everybody dead, and the instant buyback from the Enigma, but it is just one man. They still have 5 up here after the buyback from the Spirit Breaker. What can SG Esports even do? And the answer to that question is type 2 letters, those of which being G and G.
Yep, so I think one of the things that hurt SG the most was that first blood on Ember Spirit and then the kill on the Earthshaker. So normally Ember Spirit wants to be this super strong core hero for his team that helps him get kills all over the place, but it kind of fell apart for SG because the Ember Spirit's item timings may have been a little bit slower, but also because their lineup fundamentally wasn't configured to stop DC from split pushing, because all DC had to do in the mid game was split push and keep a threat on the enemy team using this Chrono and using the Spirit Breaker. And I think SG felt the threat of the Spirit Breaker and Void a lot more than DC felt the threat from SG, and as a result, DC just slowly pulled ahead until the net worth difference became a couple 10,000. So, well played by DC South America.
And with that win, DC South America, they move on to the finals of this closed qualifier for South America. They'll be opposing the winner of the next match, which is Infamous up against Infamous Young, aka the Infamous Bull. So we'll be back with that in just a moment. I'm your caster, BCop, joined here by Franz at BCop92 on Twitter and at Hello Franz on Twitter. Follow us here on Twitch as well. Maybe sub if you want, because why not? Subbing is just an amazing thing, right? So we'll be back in just a minute with the next set of games between Infamous and Infamous Young. Stay right there.